Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with a little, basically just to make really. I'm going to make a masterboard. I make them quite regularly, I then cut them up and use them. However, in this instance, I'm making a masterboard and I'm just going to store it. I'm not going to cut it up, so if you're expecting me to cut this up and then decorate it, it's not going to happen. I'm just going to make the masterboard, and then maybe once I've made a few of them, maybe in the future I might do a video using some of them. So, how many of us own one of these? Yep, that's right. It's a 6x6 pad. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm attracted to the colour combinations. I see them and I flick through it and go, "Ooh, that's really lovely." And I buy it, I bring it back to the craft cave, I put it on a shelf, or I put it in my cupboard, put it in a drawer, and when I'm collaging, I forget all about it. And the reason is because I don't normally work in 6x6s. I think if you're someone who does card making or scrapbooking maybe, but I don't work in that and I forget them. And they're a lovely little resource. I mean, these things are designed by people who have gone in, all of the colours will work together no matter what combination you do. They want to make it visually appealing for you to buy them, so they make them gorgeous. So, and we have them, but do we use them? No. So today, I'm going to turn some of these in to a masterboard for myself, and then what I'll do later on is I'll actually continue and make a few more, because I'm more likely to reach for a masterboard than I am a 6x6 pack. This is going to take no more room on my shelf than this is. In fact, this is probably going to take less, because look at the bulk. Okay, now what have I done here? This is actually just the back cover off of a 12x12 pack. I usually use file folder, but I'll recycle every single part of a 12x12 pack if I can. In this instance, it's not very thick, it's good enough. I've taken this, the one with all the designs on. This is actually just coffee or tea dyed paper I've stuck onto that side. So when I finish this collage, when I do eventually become to cutting it up, it'll already be ready for writing space. So basically, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a chat, I'm going to stick stuff down, and I'm going to just randomly choose pages from this 12x12 pad. Now, there's another thing about this too. When these are in a 6x6, excuse me, I'm going to use a small guillotine today. I don't normally use a small guillotine. I normally use my big one, but I think that we're all going to be a little bit overhearing the slicing and dicing if I use my big one all the time. Hopefully this one's a little more pleasing to the ear, should we say. I can't pick things up to. I've just done the dishes and my hands are all a bit, what do you call it? They're bloated with water, so they're smooth, is what I'm trying to get at. I'm using Pritt stick, and I've got some glue pages over to this side, which you're probably not going to see. What else have I got on the go? I've got myself one of my little store cards, or this was a loyalty card, could be a key, could be a spreading device, and as you saw, I've got a small guillotine. It's just a guillotine. I'm not preferring any particular brand, just using a guillotine. So I've cut the one piece into 3 different pieces. As I go along, I may do that again. I may only cut one strip off each colour. I'm literally going to just flick the book open and choose a page at random. And as long as it hasn't already been used, then I'll use it. So the reason I'm using a guillotine and not tearing is because with masterboards, when I'm going to make them into something else, I like to have the pieces butting cleanly up against each other if I can. If they overlap, sometimes over time, it either comes unstuck or you get an unsightly seam. Not saying that that's wrong, it's just my preference, and that's a rule or a guideline that I will break pretty much all of the time as well. I'll do whatever I want, especially if I'm using old book pages, because old book pages are usually a lot thinner than craft paper. So it depends on what I'm using, is what I'm trying to get at. So put that down. I'm just going to use the card to smooth it out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece to one side over there in the parking lot, because it will get used. It's just I don't want to put the same piece in all the corners. Let's do another flick and see what one we have this time. Oh, I like that. Reminds me of chocolate boxes. Why does it remind me of chocolate boxes? Am I hungry? I shouldn't be hungry. I've just eaten lunch. So it's an absolutely gorgeous day here in Wales today. The sun is shining. Yeah, domesticated Ceri has 3 loads of washing in the process. I've got 2 loads on the line and 1 load has already dried. So you know what, at this time of year I'm going to make the absolute most out of any drying time that I see or get. Anytime you hear me rip paper off, it's being folded and over there is a basket where it goes and it gets reused. And you've seen me using book pages before, and I'll continue to use them. And if I didn't use them for some reason, they would go into my recycling bin here at the house, which means that my local Cardiff Council picks up recycling. Is it every week? I think it's every week they pick up recycling. Yes, recycling is every week and landfill is every other week. We've got quite a regime of trash collections here in Wales. We have 3 different sorts on the go. We have, let's see, recycling goes out every week. Landfill, or stuff that cannot be recycled, goes out every other week. And we've got one for food waste, which is anything that is basically food or considered food. That goes out every week as well. And then during, I think it's 10 months of the year, because I know it's not all the year round. Is it 10 or 9 months? It might actually be 9 months of the year. We also have garden waste collections. So basically, if you do in your garden or something, you have these special large, like canvas bags you get from the council, and you put all of your garden waste in those, and then those are collected. I think that's every other week, or it might be every 3rd week. I get a little confused. It's a bit of a military manoeuvre trying to keep track, so I just want to check that straight. Yeah, it's straight. It's a bit of a military manoeuvre trying to keep track of all of the different bin collections. But you know, I admire them because we're doing our bit. Here in Wales, we're doing our bit. Oh, I stuck 3 pieces down. Wasn't intended to do that. Right, another flick. Right, okay. I'm not going to be picky. I'm literally going to use what the designers have put into into this pack, so we can see that yes, it all works. Right, I think I want to do a couple of squares now. Why don't I use a little trimmer more often? Probably because I'm normally working in things that are longer than the trimmer is. I tend to work in 12 by 12s quite often, and this trimmer doesn't cut 12 by 12. Or this guillotine to cut 12 by 12. This is quite a clever one, by the way, because it comes and it doubles up as a scoring board as well. Although I've never used it as a scoring board because I've got a scoring board. Right, when we get to pieces like this, I'm probably going to be a little more accurate with my cutting, but we'll deal with that when we get there. I wouldn't mind if it overlapped a little bit, but it's just, I don't want to mislead you and you see me doing something and then I go around and go, yeah, I don't do that anymore. I do something else. Find a piece I can glue without getting stuck all over the place. So hopefully it's sunny with you. It definitely feels like spring is in the air. Although I must admit I'm very nervous of that thinking because, I mean, it's, what month is it? It's April here. I've known times here in Britain where we've had snow in May. So I'm always a bit like, yeah, right. Can we get to like June and then I'll start celebrating? But yeah, so I'm loving it. I just, I would say spring and autumn are possibly my favourite times of the year, and for different reasons. I think spring because it's very, for me, spring is really magical. It's all about Mother Nature waking up again, really. It's all of that, the new life, a new beginning. And we've just been through the darkness of winter. I'll put these over to the parking lot as well. The darkness of winter. So I literally am thinking, oh, I already got that one. I haven't got that one. So after you come through the dark times, it's always nice to go, ooh, we're getting some light days. So I'm just going to put I'll measure this bit. Not that I'm really this pedantic about stuff. I just want a strip that goes down there. So you of course could tear your papers. You could do anything you please with your papers. I'm just, as I said, I don't like to overlap them that often, because I do find that if I overlap them, I end up with a slight problem, and that is that sometimes, depending on the various thicknesses of the stuff you've stuck down, thinner pages like tissue paper, magazine paper, what are those called, napkins, all of that sort of rice paper, all of those things will really show any of the layers underneath them, not visually as in the pattern, but they will show through what you've got underneath, as far as there'll be a lump and a bump. And this is just basically my way of making my own 12 by 12s. And it's a lovely thing to do. As I said, what I'm going to do is, once I've done this one, so I can just talk you all the way through it, I'm probably going to spend the rest of the afternoon and make up this whole pad into 12 by 12s with this colour scheme. And I'll probably end up with, ooh, how many sheets are in here? It says there's 50 sheets, so that will be, it takes 4 to make a 12 by 12. That I'd make between 12 and 13 12 by 12s. So there you go. That's quite an economical thing when you think how much in money a 12 by 12 pad can cost you compared to a 6 by 6. And 6 by 6 pads, I usually see them in the sale bin. Half the time I question why they're in the sale bin, because they're absolutely beautiful, but I think I want just a little bit in there. A little bit to go across there. I sometimes question why they are in the sale bin, but if big companies are changing seasonal looks or things like that, you usually find the 6 by 6 will end up in the sale or bargain bin a lot quicker than the 12 by 12s do, because the 12 by 12s obviously have a higher price point for the companies, therefore they can make more money from them. But yeah, I very often will hit the sale area first before I shop the rest of the shop. And actually, that's a really good tip. If you go to one of the big stores, like say you go to Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Hobbycraft here in the UK, anywhere like that, I've already got that one. We haven't got that one yet. When I go to one of those stores, the very first thing, and I've only really got one store, and that's, what is the store? Hobbycraft here in the UK. I've only got the one store. So, and it's a little bit of a drive away, but I have the one store to go to. So what I do is, because it's my regular store, I actually know where to look for things. So I'll go in there, and the first thing I'll do, I'm not measuring, by the way, I'm just chomping away with my guillotine, wanting to get straight edges and angles. I will go into my local Hobbycraft store. First thing I will do is I will go to the bargain area, and I'll have a really quick look around there, just because I don't want to do a whole shop and then find the one thing I was looking for is on sale anyway. So I'll always hit that first, and then I'll enjoy myself. When I go to a big craft shop or a big arts and craft shop, I will browse. Yes, browsing can be dangerous. It's even more dangerous if you're from the UK and you're browsing in America, I can tell you. But then I always have the thing in the back of my mind of, I've got a luggage allowance. Mind you, it has been known in the past that I have got rid of clothing in a preference to, I believe I could cut that perfectly right size. There you go. I'll trim that bit off afterwards. I have thrown away some clothing before now, purely because I've had to alter my luggage allowance, and why not? I think that's a good compromise. I'm not worried about that. Let's pop this bit in here. And if I'm going, like I'm going to the States in September. Is it September? Might be the end of August, beginning September. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I'm just going to snip that off while it's got some glue on it, or I will have stuff all over the place. So a trick I will use is, if I'm going to the States, and it's pretty much the States I do this in because I've got the chance of Joanne's, Hobby Lobby and Michael's, I will go through my clothing here in the UK and I will select some of the clothing that I've got that's maybe a little bit tired. You know what I mean? The stuff that sits in the bottom of the drawer and doesn't get used that often, that sort of stuff, and I'll put it in my suitcase with the full intent that when I get to the other end, once I've worn it, it depends whether I'm staying in a hotel or staying with friends. If I'm staying with friends, what I'll do is I will, at the end of my trip, I will wash it all, launder it, and then I'll put it into a bag, and then that bag will go off to the local thrift shop, charity store, whatever you wish to call it, purely because then it can go to a new home. And then what I'll do is I will use that excess weight that I've saved and use it for art supplies, because to order stuff internationally is an absolute killer on P&P, postage and packaging. And especially if you're places like New Zealand, Australia, things like that, there's quite a markup. I didn't cut that completely straight. There's quite a markup on stuff when it goes internationally, which is not good. I mean, it means that you're almost penalised for shopping. Why am I playing with that? I've already got that. Okay, so we're getting there. You may note I keep turning my pad, by the way. That's completely on purpose. Oh, we've got this one? No, we haven't got this one. I'm going to use this one. That's completely on purpose. It means I don't end up focusing on one area only. Right, now I'm getting to the point where I need to start thinking about things just a little bit more. So I'm going to cut off to one side at the moment, because you see me bring that cutter in and out so many times you get tired of seeing it. Right, where does this need to come down to? About there. I don't always do the measuring bit. Sometimes I will just completely and utterly eyeball things, but know that I am in this instance. Forgot which way it goes. There you go. It's a bit closer there, but can I live with that? Or should I try it down here instead? I take just a little shave of that off and move it down there instead. Yeah, I'll be happier if those two aren't next to each other. So what was I saying? So yes, that's a trick that I use when I travel, is I take things that I don't really care if I bring them back. One thing that is a real big weight saver not bringing back, and I very often do this one, is if I've got an old pair of shoes or an old pair of sneakers, I will take them with me and then just get rid of them when I'm over there. And the main reason for that is I've got a size 12 shoe. And I can assure you that size 12 shoe weighs an absolute ton when you get it in your luggage. So if you've got big feet, you've got heavy luggage. Right, I want more of that stuff in here, don't I? Right. I'm a bit limited as to where I can put this. I think I'm going to put this to one side. And what I'd quite like to do is bring in this piece again and bring this back in. Yes, I think I can bring that back in. Sorry, this is where I sort of stopped talking for a while. Some of you would welcome that, I'm sure. Probably not. I'm also trying to be accurate, but the trouble is when I'm looking through an iPad, which is obscuring my view, I cannot say it's the easiest thing in the world to do, but I haven't yet come up with another way of doing this. It has been suggested that I actually mirror my iPad to my laptop, which means that I would then see the image on there instead. But I'm not sure how my brain would function if I was looking here and looking there and trying to coordinate space. Now, I've sort of got used to this. Not sure I could get used to that method of working. I think I'd go a little bit crazy, to be honest. So, let's see. Yes, masterboards seem to have reared their head again in the world of arts and craft. Most people seem to be doing them. A lot of people are doing them because their spring is in the air and they're inspired to clear out their art and craft space. And they're thinking, oh, I just need to get rid of this. I just need to get rid of that. And of course, part of that process is that you end up clearing stuff out. I really like this colour. I could be very tempted to use it all over the place. Right, where am I up to? I think I need another pattern in here. Not sure how many patterns I've already used. Have I used that? Yes. 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 No. I'd rather not use this one unless I absolutely have to. Use that. Haven't used that. That'd be a nice one. Put some lightness into this arrangement. Right. Yes, so I've seen a few people doing masterboards. I love doing masterboards. They're a favourite of mine. Purely because they're just so useful. I mean, in my mind, I'm just making 12 by 12s. But then a lot of the time, I'm making 12 by 12s anyway because I'm gel printing stuff. But they are so very, very handy. It would help if you could see the mark, wouldn't it? They are so very, very handy if you're one of these people like Gail Augustinelli. There you go. There's a very good example. And actually Darcy as well. Darcy, what's your last name? Darcy Saunders. Saunders. Sorry, Darcy, if I've got that wrong. I know it starts with an S. I think it's Saunders. They will make a book of... Basically, they get a book they're not using. Maybe a piece of junk mail, an old calendar, and they'll do this on every page. And on the back of every page, they'll actually put... well, it's beginning to lift up there. I must have missed it. They'll then put coffee dyed paper or tea dyed paper or a design that you can write on anyway. And they both do them, and then when they're doing a journal or they're creating something, they will just pull out that, flick through it, and if any of the pages work with the design they're doing, I'm making a hash of that, aren't I? That's one of the disadvantages of trying to see what you're doing through the camera. Maybe I'll just trim that off later. When it's all dry and I finished filming, I can just do that so much easier. So yes, Darcy uses them. As I said, I know for a fact that Gail Augustinelli uses them because I think that's where I first saw it done, to be honest. Was it? Yeah, maybe Gail was my inspiration for actually doing this in the first place. I cannot quite remember. Now, I'm going to overlap this a little bit here, and the reason is because that didn't line up properly. If I'd have cut this properly, it would have lined up there. But it's just me being picky. You don't have to be this picky. It's just the way my brain is wired, let's put it that way. I do not find it easy to do things on a diagonal. I find it far easier if the stuff I'm working on is cut into a square or rectangular shape. I like to do verticals and diagonals in my artwork. It's just aesthetically more pleasing for my eye. Right, where am I up to? So I didn't use a lot of this, but then maybe I don't need to use a lot of that. Right, that's where did we get up to? We got to there. Was there another one in here? I've lost track how many patterns there were. We said no to that one. We've done that one. Done that one. Have we done that one? No. Is when I do the next masterboard, I will, come here you lot, I will start with these scraps. And then once all of these scraps are on the 12 by 12, I will then reach for the book again. So that's just the way I plan to make this work for me. Right. So that needs to come in about there. Now, if you're someone who tears pages, I do. I'm not doing it today, but I do tear pages. You will get a completely different look than I've got here. Your look will be... Basically, I find that if I do it this way, the look is a clean, crisp look. Whereas if I do it with the torn edges, sometimes it's not as crisp looking. But then there's a whole nother look there as well, because you may note I'm actually not distress inking the edges of any of these pieces. But if you're someone to go in and actually distress ink all of the edges of your pieces before you stick them down, that gives you a whole nother look as well. And don't forget, guys, you've got things like washi can be put onto these. If you've got, say you've got a digital of a trim. Actually, I've got a digital of a trim. That's an idea. Where's my digital? Don't know where I put the digital. No mind, I'm not going to go hunting through drawers while I've got you all hanging around. But if you've got a digital which is trims or edges or borders, then this is a perfect place to use them as well. If I chop that off there, I think that'll be the perfect size. And we're almost there, guys. So this is a sort of mindless thing I would do while I'm watching a YouTube. Because if I got a YouTube on in the background, this isn't rocket science. But what it does is it gets my 6x6, and you can do this with an 8x8, you can do it with a 4x4. But what this does is it gets it out of my drawer into a size I'm likely to reach for, and it reminds me of it. Now, once this is done, of course, you could come in, you could put some texture paste on here, you could put washi tape over the top, you could put postage stamps, anything like that will work on here. Right, let's see if I fill up this little hole here. I think it's calling for something really small. Right, let's just... This is called winging it, guys. This will either fit or it won't fit. It's only a little tiny square, and I don't mind if that one overlaps ever so slightly. It's hardly going to do a lot of damage, is it? Now, another thing, by the way, is people are always concerned, will glue stick be strong enough to hold things like this together? I don't have a problem. I always use this brand, Pritt. I do know that people use the Yoo-hoo, or that's how I pronounce it anyway, the Yoo-hoo glue, the one that's blue and then it turns clear when it dries. I know Gail uses that. I know other people use that, and they've had no problems with it. I think basically what you need to do is you need to find one that works for you. And once you've found the one that works with you, stay with it. Now, there is something, however, I would suggest if you are looking for it on the looking for a glue on the internet, always make sure that it says permanent and it doesn't say repositional. I can't say that word. Just be careful, because it says, if it says repositionable or can be repositioned, it means it's a bit like a notelet or a post-it note, or it can be peeled off, lifted up and moved over, and you don't want that. That's the sort you don't want. Now, you could use whatever other glue you want. I mean, I like using a glue stick because it's not as wet. However, you could use PVA glue. That's not going to fit in there, is it? You could use PVA glue. You could use white glue. You could use tacky glue. You could use any of those. I don't want that next to that. I think it's going to have to be a piece of this. Right, I think it's going to be that one. So it can be any glue you wish to use. Just use whatever you've got. And, I mean, a lot of the time with these sort of things, I will sew over them afterwards anyway. Maybe I'll sew around the piece of ephemera I create from it, or maybe I don't. It's completely whatever you wish to do. Come on, you're not stuck down there. There you go. It'll fit in there perfectly. Now, these things also make great looking covers for journals. So what I would do in that instance is, once this piece was completely finished and dry, I would probably come in with Mod Podge. Let's see if I can reach the Mod Podge. Mod Podge is this stuff. I use the matte. I know there's a gloss, but gloss isn't really my jam, so I would use a matte. and then I'd give the whole thing, once this is completely dry, a coating of Mod Podge, and that would make it more durable. I mean, this is, I would say I wouldn't go any thicker than this for ephemera, but to be honest with you, I could probably use this as a journal cover with no problems whatsoever. So there you go, that's kind of where I'm at with that. As I said, I'm going to turn the camera off now, and I'm going to keep on working on these because I know that I want some in my stash. If in the future I decide to actually, maybe if I put this one to one side, and if at some point in the future I might go, right, let's see what I made out of one of these, and I'll use this very one because you see me make it. I'll have to put it, where is it? Me and sticky notes. I always put sticky notes on things. I'll put on make video, making into ephemera or something. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Remember, all your scraps are really useful, whether you make clusters from them. As I said, I'm probably going to start the next one of these starting with these scraps. And I should imagine out of this one pad, because it's got 50 sheets, I'm probably going to get 12 or 13 out of here. But even if I just made 6 and then put them with my 12 by 12s, it's something that's uniquely mine, the configuration, not the designs. And I can use them for that. So there you go. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. It was just a quick little one. Nice sunny day. Thought I'd make some background pages because I came across this pad of 6x6 and went, forgot I had that one. So until next time, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. And I will see you around. Bye-bye, guys.